Zika virus is spreading across the Americas. This is a mosquito-borne illness that is implicated in, or is believed to be causing an epidemic of microcephaly in babies, which means that these babies are being born with unusually small heads, and the unusually small heads leads to developmental delays, I guess intellectual disabilities, health problems, and so on. So what happened was there was a big increase in the number of babies who are being born with microcephaly in Brazil, and they believe that this is due to the Zika virus. Now, the Zika virus is a disease that it was first identified in Africa, in Uganda, so it probably originated in Africa, and then but recently it has spread to the Americas, and now they've been reporting cases of Zika virus, or people being testing positive for Zika virus all over the place. People all across the Caribbean, Central America, South America, and a lot of tourists as well, or not a lot of tourists, but a handful of tourists who have visited a lot of these South American, Central American, or Caribbean countries. People in the United States, Canada, European countries have been testing positive for the Zika virus after coming home from those countries in the Americas, the tropical countries. Now, the main species of mosquito that spreads, so Zika virus is spread by the bite of mosquitoes, or the bite of female mosquitoes, and the main species that spreads the disease is called the Aedes aegypti, and this is the same species of mosquito that also spreads yellow fever, dengue fever, and chikungunya. Yellow fever is a disease that used to be maybe something like Ebola, because it used to kill a large percentage of the people who were infected would die from it. The people who didn't die, who survived and got better, would be basically immune to the disease. So yellow fever used to come in epidemics, kill a lot of people, then disappear for a little while, then come back. And today now, yellow fever is not that big of a problem, especially in developed countries, because there's a effective vaccine for it, and it's been largely wiped out. In the Americas, it still exists there's a wild reservoir of yellow fever among monkeys in the Amazon rainforest, and the disease is, these monkeys carry the disease, and it's spread among them by a certain species of mosquito that doesn't like to bite people. So most of the time, people do not come in contact with yellow fever, even if they go into the Amazon rainforest, for example. But sometimes if people say, if they're loggers or something, they cut down trees, they may come into contact with this mosquito, because this particular species of mosquito, it doesn't like to bite people. It likes to feed on monkeys, and it lives high up in the tree canopies where people don't usually go. But if people are cutting down trees, they may come into contact with that mosquito. It may bite them. They may become infected with yellow fever. If they go back to a populated area where the Aedes aegypti mosquito lives, then that mosquito, some of those mosquitoes may become infected and then bite other people, and then you have a yellow fever epidemic. Now, the Aedes aegypti mosquito also spreads dengue fever, which is a disease that also exists in the tropical parts of the Americas. It causes severe illness. It often doesn't kill people, but it makes people very, very sick. And if somebody maybe has pre-existing health problems, they may die from it. So dengue fever is also a problem. Then you have chikungunya, which again I believe makes people very sick in some cases. Apparently, I guess it depends on the age. Sometimes it's related to the age of the person who gets infected. Some people in certain age ranges tend to suffer more if they get infected with chikungunya. And chikungunya is a relatively recent disease in the Americas, so it was in Africa and Asia for a long time, in the tropical areas of Africa and Asia, and it only recently appeared in the Americas, and that's also spread by the Aedes aegypti mosquito. And then finally we have Zika, which is spread by the Aedes aegypti mosquito. Now the Aedes aegypti mosquito is imported. It's a native of Africa, or the tropical regions of Africa, and it was probably most likely imported to the Americas through the slave trade in maybe the 17th century. And so it's become established in the Americas, in the tropical regions of the Americas. Now the Aedes aegypti mosquito it can't handle cold temperatures, so it's not going to live in the colder parts of the Americas, like say Chile or Canada or Greenland. But it will live in tropical regions and in some subtropical areas. So you may find it in southern Florida or Texas or Louisiana. And the Aedes aegypti, the reason it spreads a lot of these viruses to people, or one of the reasons, is that it likes to bite people, mainly feeds on people. So different species of mosquitoes have different preferences in terms of the animals that they feed on, or the creatures that they feed on. You may have one species that likes to bite monkeys, another one likes to feed on birds. This particular mosquito likes to feed on people, likes humans. So that's why. And then it can carry all these viruses, so it's likely to spread them. Now the Aedes aegypti is an urban mosquito, meaning that it tends to live in areas where lots of people live, where lots of people are concentrated. Certain species of mosquito, for example, maybe tend to live in rural areas that are not built up, or they live in say a forest or a rainforest or something, or in wilderness areas. But the Aedes aegypti is a mosquito that tends to live in built up urban areas. So I guess it would be like the pigeon or the rat of mosquitoes, because it likes to live in densely populated areas with lots of people. So one of the ways to maybe control a lot of these viruses is to target the Aedes aegypti mosquito, that specific species of mosquito, because it's responsible for spreading, or is primarily responsible for spreading all four of these viruses: yellow fever, dengue fever, chikungunya, and Zika, to human beings. One method that they've been trying to use to control the Aedes aegypti mosquito is to release a large numbers of these genetically engineered Aedes aegypti mosquitoes. Now the males of the species do not bite, or male mosquitoes in general of any species of mosquito don't bite people. It's the females that bite. The male mosquitoes mainly feed on nectar, plant nectar, and that type of stuff. Whereas the females, because the females lay eggs, they need extra protein, so that's why they drink blood. Although female mosquitoes may also say drink nectar, feed on plants, but in addition they also need to feed on blood, because just to get that extra protein for the eggs. So what the plan is to release a bunch of these genetically engineered Aedes aegypti males that will mate with the females, and these particularly genetically engineered males, the offspring that they produce, or the offspring that the females produce when they mate with these particular males, the larvae will die soon after they hatch. So they won't produce viable offspring with these particular males, and that will reduce the population of mosquitoes. So what I guess the plan is in some areas is just to release large numbers of these genetically engineered male mosquitoes, so that the females will mate with the defective males, and then their larvae will die, and there'll be fewer mosquitoes surviving into adulthood to spread diseases.